Let's just play a little jazz. Come on.
For me, the action is the juice.
Fiend for mojitos. Fiend for mojitos. I just when I thought you was cool like that. I'm a cool guy.
Hello, welcome to Framework. I am Al Schwartz. With me, as always, my partner, John Bernard.
Hey.
We're all being terse and and also our one of our strongest recurring characters, Mr. Chris Prentice.
Oh, it's good to be back. Good to be back. I'm fastening my seatbelt on my Go Fast boat and ready to talk a little Miami Vice.
Miami Vice. Yeah.
Yes. We're not here to talk about the TV show, though, right? We're just talking about the 2006 film.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, it'll come up, I assume. Michael Mann did it all, you know.
Yes.
So it'll probably come up, but no, I didn't watch the TV show for this. I watched the movie, so I will have more to say on that. And what a film! What another great Michael Mann film we got here.
Oh,
Yeah, this one, I mean, I know is a little more divisive than like Heat and The Insider, where everyone seems to kind of agree that those are great. And it's like I always read. I feel like I read articles where people are like, "Oh, Miami Vice, the misunderstood movie of the 2000s that didn't get its due," and they kind of talk about how it has this big cult following. But I swear, if I bring this movie up in mixed conversation, either nobody remembers it or they just were bored out of their minds. That seems to be the reaction I always get from people.
Yeah, it is supposedly a movie with a cult now, and I think its reputation at this point is overall quite positive. But maybe that's just among people who would talk about such things as 15-year-old action movies and Michael Mann's filmography, and internet folk, and people like us who are very interested in sort of film history, or not even just film history, but it's like action movies from 20 years ago that we remember, like. Movie nerds.
Yeah.
Movie nerds. Regular people, I don't think like this film at all.
No, inaccessible. The reaction to it initially was pretty poisonous, I think. People did not appreciate it. And Colin Farrell was a little overexposed at the time. I don't know.
Right.
Jamie Foxx was kind of losing his mind after winning the Oscar a bit. But it does seem to, the cult seems to consist largely of people who write for movie sites. And I think part of that is just that Miami Vice is actually underrated if you pay attention to it. It's not that incomprehensible. It's a good article topic to just keep on the back burner. Try it out whenever you need to fill some space. You can always drop that in there.
It's easy to articulate too. Like this movie has a lot of obvious qualities, and frankly, it's not confusing. There's not a lot of
it's very straightforward.
Okay, what were they trying to do with the heist or the stash of stolen heroin when they returned it to the guy, Jose Hierro?
Oh well, they're trying to buy his faith in them. Like he's that is frankly, I think kind of a bit of an obvious ploy to not extort him for money, but for his confidence.
Doesn't that just raise his suspicions even higher?
I thought it would. I mean, it seemed very obvious to me, yes. And I guess it does to Jose Hierro, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's basically suspicious every single scene he's in with them. It's like, at no point does he not seem suspicious of them. I don't know why he enters into any kind of business with Crockett and Tubbs to begin with, because every single scene he's like, you guys too good at your job. And it's
that
like...
That is an odd complaint.
Yeah.
Well, he's right, though. He's right. They're cops.
Well,
they smell wrong because they're cops. They're too perfect. Yeah.
Well, and Colin Farrell smells wrong because he hasn't showered in 6 days. Is by the looks of things.
He looks awesome in this. Yes,
oh,
gross,
yeah.
Sure. But man, I wish I could do that mustache and hair combo. It would be, oh God, I'd be the happiest man alive.
Because I mean, when they first announced this movie, I was a big fan of the show, and I was like super excited, and I was like, oh man, who are they gonna get for Crockett? And I was like, oh okay, Michael Mann's doing it again. He's gotta go back with Russell Crowe. That would be perfect. It's gotta be Russell Crowe. It's gotta be. And then they announced Colin Farrell, and I was pretty disappointed. I was like, ah man, you kind of got the bargain at the time, the bargain basement Russell Crowe, and I really wasn't very excited because Colin Farrell had just made so many crummy movies up at that point, and but man, I thought he was excellent in this. I really this was kind of the movie that turned me around on him, and now I like him quite a bit. But this was really the one that kind of where I was like, oh yeah, this guy's good. I can forget about SWAT and the recruit and phone booth and all that stuff, and this guy's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure he is. I mean, I think just a lot of that is simply presence, which he has. Everyone in this has an enormous amount of presence, but maybe no one more so than him. And that hair and mustache is a big part of that, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, we're not huge on method acting on this podcast particularly, but this movie managed to use to full effect the fact that Colin Farrell walked off the set of this movie and straight into rehab. Like he is genuinely a bit strung out, and that comes through.
Yeah, he has said that he remembers pretty much nothing of making this movie.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
And yet,
well,
he was the easier one to work with between Crockett and Tubbs, by all accounts.
By all accounts, that seems to be the case. I guess because he was so blitzed, he really didn't even have much to complain about, and it was just point me in the right direction, and I guess I'll do what I have to do. But yeah, I mean, this was like right on the heels of Jamie Foxx winning the Oscar, so I'm sure his ego was out of control, and supposedly he like left the set early and they had to really change the whole ending of the movie. I don't know what originally it would have been, but supposedly there was some trouble when they were filming and he just got the hell out of there.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the stuff's more reasonable than others. Like the leaving the set thing, from what the accounts I've read, was that there was gunfire on the set. Some of the a Haitian gang that they had employed for security, and he said no, I'm out of here. For that, I understand. Some of the other demands he had demanded after the fact, like after the contracts had all been signed, that once he had won the Oscar, he decided he needed to be paid more than Colin Farrell and billed first. To which Colin Farrell kind of just slurred, "Yeah, all right, whatever, man." And the other thing is he apparently refused to do scenes on boats or in airplanes.
That seems like a big problem.
Yes, with the Miami Vice movie.
That is a big issue with Miami Vice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I mean,
this is
but for whatever it's worth, I
after he reportedly
really good
pitched the movie, the idea to Michael Mann on the set of Collateral, convinced him to do a movie reboot of this where he could be Tubbs.
Yeah, I read that too, and I like how that's framed. That nobody ever thought of that. Nobody, I'm sure, has had nobody ever come up to Michael Mann and said, "Hey, that super successful TV show you did in the '80s? Have you thought about making a movie of that?" By God, what an idea!
I mean, this is just probably at the tail end of 10 years of television remakes being all the rage in Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
right.
But they were all bad.
Addams Family, The Fugitive. They were successful.
right.
They made a ton of them.
Well,
The Fugitive. I'll spot you.
Yeah, but this one was coming right on the heels of Starsky and Hutch and Dukes of Hazzard, and
the Brady Bunch.
It would have been real easy to just make this a total kind of hack comedy with the loud outfits and just pumping up all the '80s music, and I mean that could have easily been this movie if Michael Mann had just said, "No, I don't really want to go back to that. Whatever you people do, what you want to do with it," and we would have ended up with Owen Wilson and God knows who else in the starring roles. And so thank God
that Fox actually.
Well, it might have been.
No.
Might have been.
No, yeah, no. It probably.
At this point, it might.
Yeah, I mean it. it could have easily been Ben Stiller and Romany Malco. That was Plan B. You know, if Plan A is so 180 degrees in the other direction, where Mann's like, okay, fine, I'll put like 10 years of research into transnational drug trafficking into this, and it'll be the most absolutely po-faced version of this, like famously. I mean, the show is odd.
It kind of a breezy, lightly comic show.
No,
right? Like,
not really.
It's not nowhere near.
Not
this
really. It's
intense.
remembered that way because the aesthetic of it is so 80s and neon and bright, and then the actual content was pretty cynical.
I remember Edward James Olmos being comic. I remember Crockett has an alligator pet. That I mean,
it had a lot. It had a lot of the TV cop tropes to it, but it's got a lot of dark episodes. There's a lot of very heavy episodes mixed in there, and it does get pretty intense at times. Now, there's also very silly ones where the Trudy, the cop on there, sees a UFO. There's other ones where Phil Collins guest stars as kind of a goofy TV personality. And so, I mean, it has its oddball ones, but it is a heavier show than I think a lot of people give it credit for. It was a network show that had 100 episodes. Some were kind of goofy and some were kind of serious.
Yeah,
sure. I mean, it wasn't The Shield, though. I mean, well, I guess
for its time,
I'm not speaking with a lot of knowledge.
For its time, it was a little closer to The Shield than I think the cultural memory presents it as.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like also like Chris was alluding to there, it ran for 5 seasons in the 80s, when the seasons were 24 episodes long, and when you do that many episodes of a show, particularly in a cocaine era, in a cocaine setting, like eventually they're going to meet Alf.
Yes, and
did they ever have an episode where they went to Disney World?
They did not go to Disney World, but
it's not Orlando Vice.
They did have an episode where Michael Chiklis guest starred as the art cop. He was the expert of art forgery and all crimes that involve fine art, and he was like a real kind of fancy cop. Very different from what he played on The Shield, but yeah. So I mean, you had a lot of stuff like that, and then especially in the last season, it really went off the rails, and they're just doing a whole bunch of like backdoor pilots for shows that never materialized, and it was in like. And Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas are like barely on screen together, and so that was really bad. But really, I'm just glad that out of that show, we got a very good movie and not just some piece of crap like Chips or like I said, Dukes of Hazzard or something like that. So I mean that I really appreciate the fact that we didn't get just ultimate crap from this movie. Yeah,
this definitely feels like we're taking this seriously. This is a Michael Mann film through and through. Like we're doing all the pared down masculinity shit. It's going to be intense, and that aesthetic is it's the most ever for that. I mean, it's all aesthetic in some sense. It's comes right after Collateral, his incredibly successful collaboration with Jamie Foxx. It's kind of weird. They feel like they were on the path to being I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say Scorsese and De Niro, but but that kind of 3 in a row, and they're the best films of his career. Jamie Foxx's probably, I don't know, give or take a Django, and it's a shame it went south here because it was quite fruitful for both of them. It really seems.
Yeah, but it just seems like, I mean, Mann is too much of a professional to actually like say anything negative about Fox, but it kind of speaks volumes how he has acknowledged that they had to redo the whole ending of this movie because Jamie Foxx would not go shoot in another country again, and that never worked with them again.
And because of that, Jamie Foxx did not play Dillinger.
But the thing about Collateral though is that is like maybe the most scripted. Most structured and most kind of Hollywood of Michael Mann's films. This is like 180 degrees opposite. This is the least structured and scripted and most Michael Mann just sort of aesthetic and theme over narrative. This is like him without the safety brakes on. You know, this is full on Mann in a sense, and I think that comes with a lot of positives and negatives. Actually, you know, it's a bit indulgent, one might say, and I think that's why people kind of think of it as a difficult film to follow, maybe, even though it's quite straightforward. Because it's just about the tone and the mood and the way things feel more than it is the strict narrative.
I would not call it straightforward
clear.
compared to other crime thrillers. I think it is oblique.
Yeah, they go undercover. He falls in love with one of the people.
Oh, I know, but there's so much
there's
machinations about this deal versus that deal, and we have to do. We're going to go past the second load now because the first one went to these people in New York that we never actually see in the thing. A great deal of hay is made about this finding the leak in the federal investigation, which is only ever narrowed down to an office in Washington, D.C., where we never go and we never find it. Like there's hanging questions, unresolved things, you know, difficult to understand dialogue because some of the main characters are living it phonetically. And the other ones are speaking in jargon that may as well be a foreign language to a lot of people.
I will admit that when there's an exposition scene in this film, my eyes kind of drift to the mise en scene, and I just sort of like, yeah, you know, they're fighting the drug guys again, right? Okay, look at that water. You know, like look at that grain. Look at the way the light's getting caught in that. Oh yeah, so it becomes a little bit. I mean, it would be catty to say surface level, but it's the focus of this film. The reason to like this movie is how it looks and feels, right? I mean,
yeah, but the performances are all subterranean.
Yeah, yeah, good way to put that.
But those shots of the airplanes and flying through when they're early on, and just that whole the boat sequence to Cuba. I mean, like I can't even think of movies that have had stuff like that, like that looked like that, like even close. Really, I mean, it just looks unbelievable. I haven't seen anything that looks like that in the movie since.
Yeah, just seemingly simple things.
Yeah,
Crockett and Gong Li in a go fast boat just driving into the blue looks amazing. You know, it looks like you're watching an art film all of a sudden. And for reasons I can't really define, it's literally just them in a boat, and I'm just like, wow, that looks incredible.
Yeah,
look at it's just shot composition, I suppose, and the way it's lit, the way it's staged. All those things, you know, nuts and bolts filmmaking.
And you have you know, that scene, you know, scored to a collaboration between Moby and Patti LaBelle. I mean, that's also fantastic. I love that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
too.
Oh.
No question.
But yeah, that's burying the lead because the real musical mashup hero is Jay-Z and Linkin Park. You know, Linkin Park's finest hour. This movie, probably.
Sure.
Why not?
Why not? We'll give it to him.
I mean, we talked about this. Okay, so I watched this time the director's cut, which I had not previously seen. I saw the original on HBO in, I don't know, 2008 or whatever, 15 years ago, and did not remember it that clearly. But one thing that was striking was the opening that just drops you right into the club, and then the director's club has a whole boat race scene. And set up for like what they're trying to accomplish in that club. And oh boy, is that a mistake. It is such a clear-cut case of subtraction by addition. Yeah, it is horrible.
I hadn't seen that. I love the opening, just right in the club. You're here.
Right, yeah.
You're immediately getting your ass kicked by music and incredible sound.
I mean,
and yeah, he's buying mojitos and it's hot.
The director's cut, I mean, or the extended edition, whatever you want to call it, that was like a big selling point when the movie first came to DVD and Blu-ray. Was like, oh, you're going to get, you know, all this extra 15 minutes of footage. And then, you know, I remember buying that and being like, I mean, it looks pretty. I mean, it looks cool, but it's just nowhere near as good as the original opening. It's pretty pretty lackluster.
Yeah, there's kind of a promise there that it's 15 extra minutes, and so now it will make sense. it'll be 15 minutes of exposition, which some of it is, but it doesn't help that much. I mean, even like the added boat race tries to do it the immediate res thing because it doesn't explain to you who's who or whatever. Like Crockett and Tubbs are you're introduced to them, and they're in like race car, full body suits with the crash helmets on, so you're not even sure it's them until after it's over. But it's not nearly as good of an immediate res thing as the club scene. I mean, the nightclub scene is fantastic in this.
All the nightclubs.
I think when
I guess it's really just all the club scenes of any kind. The Mexican bar later is
when they first announce, it's an extra 15 minutes of footage into the movie. It's like I'm like rubbing my hands, like, there must be a whole other shootout that was filmed that they didn't include. This is going to be great. And then it's really just a whole lot of there's the opening, and then just a lot of extra dialogue scenes that I can easily see why they were all cut. So to me, it's really no contest in terms of which version. And that's usually the case. I mean, very rarely does Mann's, director's cuts ever actually improve on anything.
That's been an ongoing theme for us.
But usually they don't add as much as this. I don't think.
No, not usually.
And even like in the case of Last of the Mohicans, I know some of the different cuts there actually take stuff out, which is unusual for the director's cut to do. But in any case, maybe it would have been better here. Maybe even less dialogue, maybe even less explanations for what they're doing would have been better. Because, I mean, like I said, the club scene's awesome. Even as it's like repeating exact beats from Collateral, like taking out the guy's leg from behind and then stomping him without like the no look stomp behind you is a move that like choreographed right straight out of what Cruz does in Collateral. But I think a Man nightclub scene is great. People sort of like doing violence in a crowd, like club. And I think he loves that because it allows for the thing that I keep returning to, that like the thing that Mann's best at, which is purposeful movement of like hyper-masculine characters through a chaotic environment. That's his specialty. And but a nightclub, it's also kind of like controlled chaos because you have a DJ choreographing things. There's bouncers and there's people, but it allows our guys to move so purposefully and strongly through this crowds of people that are like unaware of, like aren't tuned in to the levels of violence and the stakes that they are.
Yep. It's great. And it establishes these characters, I guess, with their most important attributes right away, which is that they are, they're incredibly confident and fuckable, which makes them, I don't know, contextually the coolest people in the world. And that's kind of all that really matters about them. Ultimately, that is, Crockett clearly has a very substantial arc in this, but at the same time, these are avatar figures in a sense. Like they don't feel like people so much as, cop demigods for most of them run and that exist within this heightened world. And they are, they're just remarkable as they appear. They're mythic.
Well,
and that's all. It's all obvious right away from that first scene when he buys mojitos for the bartender. Who's actually into him.
very, very, very good choice to just start the movie with them as partners. We don't have to have 20 minutes of, I'm working this case, I'm working that case, you're getting in my way, and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff that you usually get in the buddy cop movies. It's just, here we are, we're partners, you guys can figure out, and you guys can fill in how long you think we've been working together.
Well, it struck me this time watching it. I was like, this, you know what this is? It's Michael Mann's version of a Lethal Weapon movie. I mean, it's basically a Lethal Weapon movie without all the sitcom bullshit
that's not a Lethal Weapon movie.
Well, that's true.
That's
right.
That's the half of a Lethal Weapon movie that makes it Lethal Weapon. That's just a cop movie you're describing.
No, I mean you could take this plot and it would be an obvious Michael Mann film. Except it's Murtaugh's daughter that they kidnap and Riggs fell for for one of the people on the other side while he was undercover. It's a real relationship now. That's that's like classic them. It's just they don't talk about stupid bullshit.
No, but the stupid bullshit,
Yeah.
the stupid bullshit is the essence of Lethal Weapon.
I know. I know.
And the fact that there's none of that will they, won't they, love hate stuff going on, like that's sort of what distinguishes Miami Vice. And yeah, it's a buddy cop movie, except buddy cop movies imply a degree of comedy. But there is
I
no
think so.
comedy
Mhm.
Oh, of course.
anywhere to be found.
Well, wait a
Is
minute.
there
We
anything
hold
funny
on.
in this movie?
Yes, we
Okay.
get Jamie Foxx pretending to prematurely
There is that.
ejaculate.
Great
That's-
move. That is quite
that's
good,
fun.
by the way. That's
Come on, that's a funny. I don't see that in Lethal Weapon.
You know what? There's a thing that is this just a Michael Mann thing? But I find it a little jarring now. I've started to notice it. It happens twice here on the Crockett side and the Tubbs side, where there will be a love scene that like starts up with like a heavy musical background, with like no dialogue, but just people kind of grooving together and starting to get physical. And then it will cut out that song and just start up a totally different song that is also kind of big and overpowering.
Yeah.
And just
yeah, he does that. Yeah, totally.
that's an odd choice, right?
Well, it implies the passage of time. It's sort of like a limited montage.
But it's not. They don't match the shift in music to a cut to a different location. Like they switch. Like they're later. Like Crockett and Gong Li are dancing in the club and getting up there, and it's the salsa music or whatever dancing to is overpowering them. And then it switches to whatever, an Audio Slave ballad. But it still switches to them on that in that club for like 3 or 4 seconds before it then cuts to her place. And it's like you could have done the switch like a fade transition to like fade down some music and fade in some others and go to a different location. But he likes to do it this way, and he does it with the Tubbs love scene too.
Works for me.
I
like it.
I'm fine with it. It's
different. Yeah,
I don't think it's terrible. It struck me this time, the second time watching this, and I feel like he did that.
Well, I
well,
think
it's very purposeful, as you say, because he keeps doing it.
Yeah, he's done it in other movies too.
What struck me watching this, now very recently, is like I can't believe like executives at Universal, watched this and said, "Yeah, this is going to be a summer tentpole July movie. Let's get that weekend cleared." Because it's just like, man, why would they think that this would be a big summer blockbuster?
Yeah,
this is like put it in maybe like October or something.
I can think of a couple reasons though. One is that they had already accidentally dropped $150 million on making it, and wanted to put their best foot forward to make that back. And two, because they probably, rather than watching dailies, they probably saw the trailer that was put together for it, and the trailer is pretty fucking awesome. It's got the Jay-Z song pounding over it, I could see watching that trailer and feeling like it's a bit of a bait and switch, but I think this trailer will put butts in seats in the summertime.
Worked for me big time.
Yeah.
I went and saw this.
Oh yeah, no, I was there. I was there for a midnight showing. This is like when they first started to do midnight showings for like every movie.
Yeah.
That was
for a while
time to be alive. Yeah.
Yeah, for a while they would just do it if it was like
Independence Day or
yeah.
I remember did that for Peter Jackson's King Kong, and I was like, this was a mistake.
That I feel like we all learned some lessons.
Yeah, it was like 3:45 a.m. just staggering. I was like, oh no. That wasn't as good as Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember seeing it on a midnight right that weekend it opened. Man, it just, oh God, it blew me away. Loved it, still do. And man, I'll tell you who I really like in this movie, even though it's not a character that is developed in any way other than he's just evil, is Tom Towles as the head white supremacist guy.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
wonderful.
God. He is
wonderful.
So good.
Yeah.
Every time
that
he's
was
just
Tom Towles,
chewing his gum.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's like, in a way, it's like sometimes I think, oh, I wish there had been more of him, but then it's like that might have spoiled it. It's like just any time he just shows up, you're just afraid of him.
I mean, he looks like he smells bad. This is a good trade development.
Everyone in this does kind of.
I mean, Jamie Foxx looks beautiful.
Not the women, yeah.
And
Jamie
Godly,
Foxx,
obviously.
sure.
Godly looks like she smells incredible. But
yeah.
I thought you were going to say that I really like the very minimalist performance of Arcangel Jesus de Montoya.
Oh, he's great too.
He's wonderful.
Yes.
Hardly, you want more of him, honestly. Yeah, I like him more than Yarrow. Jose Yarrow, I'm kind of like. Well,
I like Yarrow too,
but yeah, Montoya's.
No, I like him also.
Montoya's first big scene in that limo when they bring him in, and he is cordial and polite, and he's just like, "I hope we have a good working relationship. I wish you the very best."
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so cool. Yeah, he seems like a man not to fuck with. It's very easy to do a generic drug lord at this point.
Yeah.
Especially in some sort of Vice City set kind of environment like this obviously is. And that guy somehow, by doing almost nothing at all, is one of the most interesting versions.
Well, that became a thing too around this time. Is the completely like stoic underplayed drug lord, which I think kind of came up around on TV between like there's some of that in Marlowe Stanfield on The Wire, and then Giancarlo Esposito on Breaking Bad is really popularized it, and I feel like I remember. Every time the three of us convene, we have to talk a little bit about Sons of Anarchy. And I remember specifically like the leader of the One-Niners gang on that, and watching that guy who pops up periodically and being like, man, like this guy is really going for a Marlowe thing. And it just doesn't work in this environment. But this is a great version of it. I think that you get the sense that he will order the deaths of everyone, all their families. It is like Pulse will never raise a beat.
Oh yeah, he's buying a result, not a service.
And maybe we'll do business, whether we do or not. You'll not see me again. That's
pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that is sort of a dangling thread, right? We don't. I don't know. Is that we don't really know what happened with Montoya at the end of this?
Yeah, he slipped away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another thing that I really like about the movie is the bad guy gets away. Really, Jose Hero gets splattered across a wall, but
he fucking dies. Yeah,
which is great that they gave us that. But if we don't have the Montoya guy to get away, the big fish, then this ending is a little too triumphant for the tone it's chasing. It's like I guess we would still ostensibly be sad about Crockett and Isabella being separated, but like I don't know if Jose Hero really is the big fish and they kill him, then I think you at least got to kill some of the other cops on the team.
Well, it did somewhat go south here. I mean, this entire mission it didn't totally play out according to plan.
No, but the bad guys get got.
I mean, yeah,
and they get, there's a lot of angst about whether they're going to kill off Naomi Harris, but they don't. They're sort of like twice when it's.
I had a false memory of her dying, and I think it's because they do so much that it's almost like she might as well have. Like we go through. Tubbs feeling responsible for it, essentially. It's the most intense stuff that Fox does in the film, for sure. And, the her blowing up in the trailer, I mean, I remembered that as a death.
Well, it's staged like one.
That is all staged. Yeah, like it should be. Her body is smoking at the end of it. And,
just and like the sort of false dawn setup of we saved her from the bomb, and then the big, and we killed everybody, and like good job, good guys. And then the bad guy calls in the thing. I mean, it's not totally unlike Rachel in The Dark Knight, the way that's set up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, have we ever in a show or movie been told that a character is in a coma and then that character dies? That never happens. If you're told someone's in a coma, they pretty much always get out of them. You're like, oh, well, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, TV coma means
movie brain
means
stuff.
they'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, they lost the spleen or something like that.
Yeah, that's always kind of like.
That
was. I remember that happened to Thora Birch in Patriot Games They say
Oh,
to
yeah,
Harrison
perfect.
Ford, they're like, oh, so she lost her spleen. And I didn't really know what a spleen was at the time, but I was like, oh my
No one
gosh,
does.
she
It's
lost her
a
spleen.
thing you can get shot in and recover from, according to what TV has taught me. The only example I can think of somebody who went into a
Yeah.
coma on TV and didn't come out of it is my man Silvio in the end of The Sopranos.
Well, but he's alive. We just don't know what.
But
he ever.
he doesn't
He
come
might
back
come
to
out
the
of it.
show though, and
Well, there's one episode left.
yeah, I know that's it. That's why
Yeah.
it's sort of at the end. And I think the reason they did a coma and didn't just kill him is because they're like, well, if we end up doing some sort of spinoff, maybe we want to reserve the right to bring him back.
Yeah,
But-
I know that if they say you're in a coma, you're going to get out of it, and then if you're shot and they say, oh, it was a through and through, then you're
Yeah.
fine as long as it was through and through. Oh, it's no problem.
I mean, that goes back to the Naked Gun. You know, talking about Nordberg getting shot 37 times, but missing every
Yeah.
vital organ somehow.
Yeah,
I'll say this though: if anybody was going to have a character in their movie go into a coma and then just die, it would probably be Michael Mann.
That's true. It hasn't happened.
did.
But it would be, yes.
Well, and I wonder, you could almost imagine that there is a cut of this movie where she dies. And
Well, I did.
Yeah.
That is what I
Yeah.
thought.
what's
yes.
I'm saying, not that it was
Yeah.
ever released. I think that is a false memory,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't take that much work to cut around this. And maybe if they had a little more access to Jamie Foxx when crafting the climax of this movie, Tubbs being on a revenge mission may have been a bigger factor, and maybe that was actually an idea that was batted around before they decided, well, we can't really pay off that death even with the pieces we have to work with to putting together this final shootout anyway. So,
Well, even still, that's just another trope. That's just fridging. It doesn't need that at all. It just has the intensity of her
it
dying
is that,
already.
yeah, it's already doing that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Before I did want to mention before we forgot about Tom Towles, the bullet holes in his dome at the end.
Oh,
Some of
they
the
were
best
so
I've ever
great.
seen.
Yes. Oh my
It's
God, those
amazing.
are
And
just
part of that's just the shape
beautiful.
of his head is quite conducive to some
Oh,
good
well,
bullet
he-
holes. But
Yeah, he's got a head made for being shot in it. That's like there's.
It's like
I mean, there's a couple.
it's just like a big wide flat screen, just like put it up on there.
Yes. Like that's one of my favorite like gnarly moments. I think my other favorite is also involving Tom Towles in the opening part when they kill the FBI agents
Russian.
in the opening.
Blazanov.
Blazanov, that's
Yeah.
the Russian from Deadwood, yeah. And the forearm that goes swirling away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I remember seeing that the first time, and I'm like, did that guy's arm just get blown off? I didn't even know. I couldn't even tell if I really saw that.
Yeah,
And oh man, that is unbelievable.
I was just about to
That
bring
whole
up
sequence-
that exact beat.
Oh,
And the sniper
it's great.
bullets going through the car seats and setting them on fire and shit. That's an incredible
Yeah.
sequence. Like, no one shoots violence like Michael Mann. I swear to God. Or well, it's the sound as
Of
well,
course.
of course. I mean, it's old hat at this point in our miniseries though to talk about how cool the gun sounds in the movie. It's no one does that better though. No one.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, I mean, he's got a way of both stripping down. I don't know, like he can de-glamorize violence and still make it so goddamn cool and exciting. I'm not sure exactly
Yeah,
how that
that's-
alchemy works.
That's like his gift
it's
and
so
his
brutal.
curse. I know. It's so brutal, but it looks so good.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I don't know if there's really been a better nighttime shootout than the one in this movie because you don't get a whole
It's a
lot
hard
of
one to
like,
shoot. Yeah.
nighttime shootouts. And this one is it's just it's. I mean, obviously it's not downtown LA heat, but man, I think it's just a fantastic sequence.
it's a lot of fun, and one of the highlights of it is it shows off so many different like types and calibers of weapons. That there's that grenade launcher, Jamie Foxx uses for the boss kill, and I love the thing of Dominic Lombardozzi shooting through the back of the SUV with his shotgun, and there's machine guns and sniper rifles. It's all over the place.
A quick word about Dominic Lombardozzi. I think if you're going to cast an ensemble of cops who don't actually say much or do much or have character development, you probably can't just make one of them hurt.
Well, I was going to ask you guys. My version of this is asking, what's the most 2006 thing about this? Is it the heavy featuring of a Linkin Park Jay-Z mashup, or is it the featuring of Dominic Lombardozzi as a fifth wheel in a cop crew?
Yeah, or John Hawkes as a unstable informant. That's kind of an 06 kind of thing.
Hawks is a
He could be. There's 30 years of him.
He's a character actor. I feel like Dominic Lombardozzi's day was really particular to the late aughts, where he was a cop in everything.
I don't know. I still see him in a lot of stuff. I mean, he's like the main heavy on the Stallone Mafia show, Tulsa King. And
is he?
He's actually,
interesting?
Yeah. He's like kind of the head of the mob family that Stallone is a part of, and he was actually good. He was good in a few years ago. I mean, it's kind of hard to differentiate the good from the bad, but the Liam Neeson movie, Cold Pursuit, he's kind of the head mobster in that one too. And he's good in that.
He was in The Irishman.
I know, and he shouldn't have been.
No, he should not have been.
He should not have been. No.
He's a very specific spice. I think you got to be very, very careful with your use of Dominic Lombardozzi, or it will overwhelm the dish.
But this is right for him. This is how you use him.
Yeah.
He's distracting to me. I'm just like, is it actually?
No,
work?
I mean, he fires more rounds than has lines in this movie. So I mean,
he's more prominently.
It's just that he's famously a cop from a show that I know. That's all.
Yeah,
he is prominently in the director's cut opening. That he's sort of like the point guy who's buying the prostitutes that they're trying to set up the sting on their pimp. So he has a few more lines there. I don't know I think he probably still fires more bullets ultimately in the end, because he doesn't do a whole lot otherwise. But should we? I guess the rest of the crew too. You got Justin Theroux in there. That is almost really more distracting to me, because I'm like, something about him. I'm always like, oh yeah, he was an actor for a while.
Yeah, that'll place you in a time and place for sure. A Justin Theroux sighting, hot off the set of Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle. It's Justin Theroux.
But I like this team actually, and I really like their Vasquez character. I think sure.
Oh, she's great.
Oh, Gina. Yeah.
Why did they give her that moment to her instead of Fox? I was wondering. Fox doesn't have a lot of big moments. Maybe he just wasn't there that day, I guess.
That probably is it.
Well, Fox has the cool moment right before that, where the one guy's kind of moving on the ground and he just kind of shoots him real quick, and that's kind of the big Jamie Foxx moment in that scene. But I like that they gave the woman who played Gina the whole speech about, you'll be dead, you won't even twitch your finger, all that kind of stuff. And I thought she was great. I remember watching this movie thinking, who is this? I don't know who this is. She's going to be a big star. And then I don't think I've seen her anything since.
No. I saw her on 7 seasons of Orange Is the New Black. But
there you go. Okay. I missed that.
That sounds fun.
But it took me a while to put that together. I had to Google her name watching this, because I was like, who is this lady? She's doing so much with so little, no dialogue.
Yeah, I thought she was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's great.
Naomi Harris is doing a whole lot with a whole lot, though.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we should talk about just the multicultural nature of the cast. And there's something here that's, you can kind of trace Mann's interest in crime. It starts off more parochial in the 70s and goes increasingly international throughout the 2000s with Collateral and Vice, and eventually Black Hat. And there's also just weird stuff in here. Like Naomi Harris's, I don't know, is it a Dominican accent she's doing? But sometimes it just comes in really heavy. And Syrian Hines' character, FBI character, is named Fujima, which makes little
weird.
Ethnic sense.
Weird.
Well,
and Hawks is playing this twitchy informant named Alonzo, which
didn't catch that.
Which he doesn't exactly look like Alonzo.
Yeah, and then it's Barry Shabaka Henley as Castillo, and he doesn't really look like a Castillo.
Right. Well, did they name him ever? I didn't. But
he is Castillo in this movie. Yeah.
The credits probably, yeah. But
no, he's the Edward James Olmos figure for sure. But also, yeah, I mean, of course, the biggest example is Gong Li is this, Isabella from Havana, who clearly, is Mandarin is her first language, clearly, and she's speaking like I don't know, English with a Cuban accent, is maybe what they're going for, but she's saying all the words phonetically, and it is. I think ultimately, like it all kind of like piles up into there's something like an idea there about sort of transnational crime and how old borders are falling in the face of the modern world and all this. The drug
I
capitals.
love that, man. I love that. That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, and you're right. That actually continues on. I mean, that is 100% what Black Hat is, I think, literally about.
Yeah.
So that is a trajectory. Fascinating.
But how do we feel about Gong Li in this? Or Naomi Harris?
I like her.
Ooh.
I really think she's really good. I mean, I know a lot. Yeah, like we said, a lot of people had an issue with her English, but I just think for what her character is and what her character is asked to do, she does it all. I don't know what more she needed to do to be effective in this movie. I think I buy that she's into Colin Farrell, and I buy that Colin Farrell's into her, and I buy that there's obviously a huge conflict because of her line of work, and it all works for me.
I mean, I think ultimately the fact that the sexual chemistry between Gong Li and Colin Farrell is kind of off the charts excuses a lot, like that works. It makes the relationship work, makes the character work. That they clearly want to fuck each other. Clearly. It is a romance that is built on a foundation of horniness in a very believable way. And the fact that all works, I mean, I think it almost makes and it feels unique actually, that they speak so little to each other, that the relationship has this sort of, I guess you would call a bit of a remove, just because, she's saying the words phonetically and it looks and feels like it,
They speak, maybe it's the director's cut thing. They speak a decent amount, like more than I remembered in the director's cut anyway. Maybe there's
there is
extra.
more of them in that.
They barely speak in the one I watched. And that works though.
Yeah.
I mean, you see them together and they're just like, well, that, and I love how that develops, like they're both kind of just like, yeah, I'm really horny for him. Okay, I'll get on that boat. Okay, fuck, yeah, I know what I'm doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just horny. All that stuff is so believable and feels immediate and feels like it's happening live in front of you that I think that character and relationship work because that works. And I'll buy everything they're telling me with it. Yeah, I'm with her 100%. You are, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. You are. That's. I think it makes the film actually, Gong Li. So it's a weird performance and something that I'm not familiar with seeing very often. I mean, I think Jackie Chan, like half of his American movies are phonetically performed,
right?
But he's never asked to do this sort of thing, really. And and it's really it works better than I think I've ever seen it, as far as I know.
Yeah, I give it. I understand if people have issues with it, but it works for me with the character because the character is such that English could be Isabella's third or fourth language, and maybe she's not as fluent in that as she is in Spanish or whatever dialect of Chinese she speaks. Or her said her mother went to Angola at one point. I don't know. I find that it's not Gong Li's native tongue. It's not the character's native tongue either, and so that all kind of works for me. I like her. I bumped on Naomi Harris's accent more because it was so big and because I now associate her as being so British that I like, and I'd like totally forgotten that, you're playing whatever.
Money Penny,
Trinidadian or Dominican or whatever you're doing exactly there.
How do we feel about John Ortiz as Jose Euro?
I love this guy. John seemed to be dissing him earlier, but I love that performance.
I think it's fine. I think it works in the film. I think that the way he ends up functioning is like, and I know it's not even him with Gong Li, but massive cuck energy.
No, it's definitely implied that he's got a thing for her, and that's fueling part of his jealousy of Crockett and Tubbs, and to dig into them hard.
Yes, and I kind of like that, but it does feel like I mean, just the look as well. He is. There's so many ways this guy could have been more threatening in appearance, but I guess what they're going for is that he's sort of a.
He doesn't have to be.
Yeah, he's sort of a malingering menace. That you he almost wants you to underestimate him, you know. And yeah, in the final act when he fully becomes the villain of the film, you know, even if he is a middle manager, yeah, it's effective, and you want to see him get killed for sure. So you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I think he works, but it's an unusual archetype for a villain, a central villain of a film, and you know, I don't know. I think there might have been a better Jose Hierro take out there, but it works. It's functional.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I would say I don't put any of that on Ortiz. I think the character, the shuffling around of the final act of the movie leaves the character in a weird place where maybe he wasn't supposed to be the main villain all along, but he has to take on that role. And
he tends to get one-upped in like every scene he's in for a very long time, though. Like,
Yeah.
that keeps happening, and I think that minimizes him in a way that sets him up to become more dangerous later, I suppose.
Yeah, I love his whole bit before the big shootout when he's talking about, oh, I'm gonna take her to a movie, get a bite to eat, and then I'll put her head over here and her leg over there, and I think that's he's really good in that scene.
Yeah, he's solid. He's solid. But yeah, like this, just the scenes of him watching Crockett and Gong Li dance, and just sort of stewing jealously. You know, it's funny. It's a little funny.
Yeah, you could put sound to silence over some of those shots of him watching them.
Yeah, I also think that him being sort of sniveling in this way as it does prop up Montoya more, who I think is amazing in his limited use.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, I see what you're saying, but sniveling is also not a word I would use with this performance at all.
Okay.
Like, I think it very easily could be that, but Ortiz is very good at just being competent and calm about things. Up until the end, we have to twirl the mustache a little harder in the final act. But again, that's something I don't hold against the performance so much as they had to restructure this whole thing. Like, the original thing was, I mean, probably kind of a similar shootout scenario, but it was supposed to be in Paraguay in the Ciudad del Este that Montoya is headquartered in. But they had to put it back in America to accommodate Fox. Yeah, I mean, that's clear. That's an environment that Mann is obviously interested in and has researched because it factors in very heavily into Heat 2, the book.
Of course, yes.
That's where Val Kilmer's character ends up going and working for characters that are very similar to Gong Li and Ortiz in this movie.
Have you read that, Chris? It's really
good. I did. I have read it, and I really liked it. It's
pretty awesome.
I mean, it's one of those books that it's impossible to read without like trying to like cast it while you're reading it. That's kind of the fun
I kind of
of
just
it.
use the cast from the original Heat, which is going to be a problem when they do adapt it.
Yeah. They're also, I mean, if they're planning to just make it as a movie, they're going to have to cut a lot of stuff out, and I think it would be the Chris stuff is probably what they're going to end up cutting out a lot of because I mean, as it's written right now, I just feel like they're, I don't know. That's just my guess as to, because they can't make. I don't think they can really make a movie out of the book as it's written.
No,
it is weirdly structured.
Yeah. So,
but no, they probably cut like a lot of the Chicago home invader stuff, which is a shame because it's great. I don't know,
but you have to have that for the climax. Yeah. So you need to establish that. Maybe you can do that faster. I don't know. That's a different day.
It's a good book. People should read
it. But it's hilarious. Yeah, it is a great book. It's hilarious how that home invader stuff is directly lifted off of a Miami Vice episode called Home Invaders. They take it was fun to read it, but I was like, man, he's taking the entire dialogue from that episode and putting it in this book. Yeah. It's actually an episode that was directed by Abel Ferrara. It's a good one.
Well, that does sound more intense than I was painting it. Okay. I should watch that one. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's Abel Ferrara doing network TV.
Right.
According to the trivia I read, too, though, the Miami Vice movie is basically redoing the plot of a TV episode called Smuggler's Blues, which
the plot of this has been done in so many goddamn things. This is a
Yeah.
natural carp story.
I mean, the overall plot of the movie is pretty much about 40% of the Miami Vice episodes. I mean, it's all kind of that. I mean, Smuggler's Blues is kind of that one's notable because it's Glenn Fry is the big guest star as a pilot, and that's where his song is plastered all over the episode, the Smuggler's Blues. So I mean, there's definitely similarities. Yeah.
You tell me the heat is on?
For that episode, yeah, it was definitely on. Yes, it's a good one.
No, I only watched the pilot. I watched pilot like few months ago just to see like it's like, man, if this blows me away, am I going to want to like watch a bunch of Miami Vice to talk about sometime in the Mann-Splaining series? And I was like, yeah, it held up pretty well, but not like so incredibly well that I was ultimately intimidated by seeing like Miami Vice 1984 first season 24 episodes. I was like, okay, I can't do 24 episode seasons.
Right.
Well, you know what you should watch is watch the season 2 opener, The Prodigal Son. That's a 2-parter that was kind of basically put out on video as a movie. That's where Crockett and Tubbs go to New York. Watch that. I mean, I really love the pilot, but the season 2 opener is actually to me even better because I mean it's just a total parade of crazy guest stars, and the show is a big hit at that point. They even have more money to spend, and that's really the 2-parter to check out is Prodigal Son.
Are they a few years too early to meet Detective Munch?
Yes, they're a little early for that, but they do encounter Penn Jillette.
The 80s, man. It's a wild time.
Yeah.
I should check some of those out again. It's been a while, and I never saw much of it. And yeah, I'm kind of curious now after this. I always intended to for this episode. But,
or you could just watch the movie 3 more times. Because this is weird. Do you find this movie to be weirdly rewatchable? Like almost because of the incomprehensibility of it? Like it's just the scenes kind of. It's because it's a vibes movie, I guess, is what we're kind of getting at.
It's definitely that.
They're bad vibes, but it's a vibes movie.
Yeah, all his movies are to some extent that, or increasingly, I guess, is how I would put that. I don't know. I mean, Manhunter feels like even that. It's part of his whole deal, and there's maybe none more so than Miami Vice. I'm never kind of emotionally connected to this film. Not really. I'm understanding the hotness of Isabel and Crockett hooking up, but I'm not really emotionally involved in what happens with them. It seems doomed from the start, honestly. And and like I said, I had a false memory of Mamie Harris just dying in this. But even still, I'm kind of just I'm a little on the surface for this film. And because of that, it feels like, I don't know, a little longer than it actually is for me. I'm not as taken with this as you guys are. I think it's a very good movie, but, it's just because he makes only great films for the most part, it's probably a little bit lower on my list than the rest.
Yeah. Oh, I don't love this movie. It's not in my top 5 for him. I just, it's a little maligned, so I guess I want to stand up for it a little.
That's undeserved.
It's both maligned and it's both maligned and intensely protected. So I don't know how I feel I have to defend it, but it just, I don't know, when it catches me, it works. I don't go back to it that frequently, but it's like, the guy can just shoot a scene,
Sure can. Yeah.
I mean, this is the last movie he did that I really do love.
I understand.
There's only been 3 since. There's only been 3 since, and I'm, this is the last time that he really blew me away with a movie, and so I kind of cherish it for that because I mean he's one of my favorite directors, and I love so many of his movies, and so it's like it's kind of amazing to me that this movie is like 18 years old, and it's really the last one that he's done that I really enjoy.
Not into Black Hat, eh? Well, it's obviously
I mean,
it's
maybe
a lesser thing than what his usual stuff for sure.
The Cult of Black Hat
Yeah,
is not as well developed as the Cult of Miami Vice.
Give it time.
No.
And
Yeah.
I mean, credit to Chris
It's-
too. It's that he was there midnight opening night. He was on the ground floor of a cult, which is really where you
Oh,
want to be in a
yes.
cult situation. You
Absolutely.
don't want to be
yes.
one of the latecomers to the cult.
Yeah, I mean, look, I came away from this like liking it more than I thought I would too. Like I'm more into this film now than I used to be. You know, I have not revisited it much in the last 15 years, but I could see myself doing it again. Like I had to watch this without my wife, who's been watching Michael Mann with me, you know, this year, and she was disappointed. And I was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm sorry, I have to for the thing, but I think I'm going to watch it again pretty soon, just because I think she'd like it a lot. Like it's cool as fuck is the thing. It feels great. It's it's a good one for sure. And yeah, I think I would enjoy it again watching it in the near future. So that probably will happen, you know. If Public Enemies doesn't like pretty much just put an end to all her interest in Michael Mann, of course.
Okay, final question for you guys then. Is this up there with like the Nolan Batman movies as the best execution of a like really grim and gritty reboot of an existing property?
Yes. Like to me, this is about as good as a movie based on a TV show can get. It's right there with The Fugitive, and I don't really count the Star Treks because that's like the same crew, so it's a little different kind of thing.
The Untouchables is another one that
it's
really
Untouchables is also right there as
and
well.
the
yes.
Addams Family.
Yeah. I guess when they're really good, you kind of sometimes can forget about the show it was based on. Like a lot of people probably don't remember the Untouchables show. There's also there's two strains of this. There's, the X-Files movie, the Veronica Mars movie, like the Star Trek's even a little more in that mold where it's a direct sequel to the thing.
Right.
And then there's, I guess,
that's a different deal.
There's the campy reboot of Starsky and Hutch or whatever. I mean, not reboot, but Baywatch and that type of thing. Which this could have fallen into. Sure. And then there's Miami Vice, which is a totally different thing. It's this. I mean, it's as po-faced and grim as you could possibly make this material, and yet I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, I mean the things that
will we have
a
new contender in a few weeks with the Fall Guy?
You're right, we will. Yeah, that's exactly what that's aspiring to be. Yeah,
I think it's aspiring. Yes. I think it's aspiring not so much to knock Miami Vice off of its throne, but to knock Maverick off its throne.
There you go.
I think Maverick's one of the good movies.
Top Gun Maverick or the
Mel Gibson and
Mel Gibson.
James Garner Maverick.
All right. Yeah, that one's fun actually.
But that's one that I didn't know was based on a TV show for 20 years after it came out. And
then, and basically
no one's gonna know Fall Guy was a TV
other
show.
Than nobody's gonna have any idea that Fall Guy was based on anything.
Right. But people remember Miami Vice.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Everybody knew this was a TV show.
Yeah.
It was the style, the fashions had, the wedding singer kept them alive, if nothing else.
I mean, is that necessary though for an audience to actually embrace one of these? Is for them to like basically have forgotten the TV show in the fashion of The Fugitive and The Untouchables and not Miami Vice pointedly?
Well, maybe that was part of the initial reaction is that people who went to the theater initially were people who remembered the TV show and did not appreciate it, ditching the music and the fashions and everything that was sort of iconic about it. And then the Reclamation project was spearheaded by people who did not remember the TV show or at least hold it in any reverence.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think the majority of people who were into the show did not like the movie. I mean, I like them both, but it is so different from the show. And a lot of what people enjoy about the show is not really in the movie. And a lot of what makes the movie great is not in the show. So it's like you have these names and you have, some references here and there. Like they do use Crockett's cover name, Sonny Burnett. That's from the show. So they have little things that they'll throw in. But for the most part, it just has really very little in common, other than it's cops and they're dealing with drug dealers.
Well, maybe Mission Impossible is the best comparison. Then is the
Oh yeah,
like,
that's good.
That's kind of
Yeah.
a reboot and restructuring of the entire thing. It basically keeps nothing but the theme song, and creates an entirely different vibe for it, and really pissed off fans of the original show. And
Yeah,
Pissed off the cast. Remember Martin Landau? Well, he was supposed to, they asked him to be in the first one, and he kind of looked it over and was like, I don't want anything to do with this. And
all of them. Peter
he
Graves.
didn't like that movie at all.
Peter Graves, too, of
Yeah,
course, who was
yeah.
written as the villain all of a sudden. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what.
That's like a big fuck you to people who like Mission Impossible.
It is. It's like, that's
It's
that didn't just piss off fans of the show. That kind of took a piss on fans of the show in a way that I didn't ever watch the show. I don't know, but once I read about how they, that those people in the beginning and that villain reveals, those were just the main characters of the show. Like, that's pretty callous.
Yeah, it really is just like a hey, love your theme song. We're gonna take it. Go fuck yourself. By the way.
Yeah, we love the whole thing with about the tapes getting smoky and all that stuff. We're gonna borrow all that.
And you guys can go now. Get the fuck out. Yeah.
Miami Vice kept even less than that from the show to the movie. It can feel like, because all they do is like, okay, we're gonna have, black cop, white cop with these names, and that is like it. And what it's known for is all this other stuff, the fashions and the sounds and all that. And it's weird, like, that they got this rebooted. Like, you'd think the pitch would that didn't include any of the stuff the show is known for would get rejected out of hand. Except it's Michael Mann doing it.
Yeah.
Well, that's why.
Well, yeah, I would think that the fact that they tried to reboot this and then they did not have Crockett on a houseboat with a lovable crocodile, like immediately Universal would have said, there's no way, we're not doing this. You need to have that boat, and otherwise it's just not a go. And if you don't have a flashback to Tubbs's brother being murdered every 5 minutes like they would do on the show, that we can't have this. We need these things. But then Mann does throw in an awful cover of In the Air Tonight over the credits.
You need it.
So,
you need it.
Whatever.
Is this only in the director's cut? There's a scene of them actually like driving the Ferrari to that new metal cover, like to go to the final shootout, which is very much with the usage in the pilot episode.
Yeah, in the theatrical, it's just the credits.
Oh, wow.
They do switch that up. They do. It still plays, but it's just in the credits for the theatrical version. But it's it's an awful version. I mean, it's so bad.
Weird.
Yeah, the single worst thing to happen to Michael Mann's career, I think, is the formation of Audioslave.
Yeah.
It's weird how you don't expect that butterfly effect to mess up Black Hat, but here we are. I mean, I don't want to end on a bad note because I do like this movie. So
it's a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Great in either of those, and is this a high watermark for anyone involved? Would you say? It's probably my favorite
Linkin
Gong
Park.
Li movie, but I mean, I don't know.
It's way up there for Colin Farrell. I mean, I like In Bruges a lot. And,
I love In Bruges so much that I have to give that.
Yeah, I mean, but to me, I think that was like maybe a year or two after this, and that's when I really kind of started to get into him more as an actor, because like his kind of initial foray into Hollywood, I was really not digging him at all.
It sounded like he was listening to a lot of people with career-minded kind of paths for him. And and it took him a while to actually do something anyone liked. Yeah, I mean,
this is a step on his path to becoming sort of a character actor with a leading man's face, which is where he's ended up.
Yeah,
winning our hearts.
Well, he's even good.
So
when he's doing that stuff back in the day, like Minority Report, it works. It totally works, and you get why. But yeah, he was just in too much shit like Heart's War or Phone Booth or like 100 of those.
The Recruit.
A rotten film to its core. The Recruit. Yeah, and and so did this save him in some sense? I don't know. I mean, In Bruges and this together probably is.
Yeah. Yeah, I love In Bruges so much. I have to give that to him over this.
Right.
And
Mhm.
Jamie Foxx is pretty good in this, but he's also a little checked out at crucial points,
Certainly see.
which doesn't kind of weighs it down.
Well, I mean, the movie checks him out for about like a half hour. I mean, it's basically just Crockett's movie for a big chunk of it, and then it's like, oh yeah, there's Tubbs in this too.
Yeah, there's not much going on with Tubbs in this. I guess
Well, he
what
cuts
can you
back.
say?
He gets to do the Tyrion Lannister trick of feeding different bits of disinformation to different branches of the investigation to see which one circles back to him. That's a nice trick, and he's got the romantic angst, but
Sure.
it's not. Yeah, it's not as memorable as the go fast boats in Cuba and everything.
Mhm. His sex scene with Naomi Harris is pretty memorable. Yeah, with the premature ejaculation fake out.
But it's also
Funny stuff.
But if he's not involved in this stuff, he's kind of only got himself to blame, because if you're refusing to get on the go fast boat in the Miami Vice movie, you're going to miss out on some of the most memorable parts of a Miami Vice movie.
Yeah. It's odd to me. I guess it makes sense that he would have having just won the Oscar and becoming the biggest deal in the world for a few years there, turn into an asshole. That certainly happens to people. I mean, it happened to his character Willie Beeman in Any Given Sunday, of course, as we all remember.
It's a great parallel.
So, fine, but it's too bad he torched the best relationship professionally that he ever had in the process, because God, he's good in Collateral. My God, and he's good in this.
Well, then he even had after the year after Vice, it wasn't directed by Mann, but Mann produced The Kingdom, and I like that movie too.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
so I like that one.
That's, well, it's still like he's good in it. That's him riding high still. Yeah. Oh well. He's got Django a little bit after this, so he ended up fine.
The problem we have here is this is the end, kind of inarguably, of Michael Mann riding high. This one,
Yes.
I said it's got its defenders. Next we're up, we got Public Enemies. That one does not have its defenders.
It does, but they're in the wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back loving Public Enemies. It's not like
maybe.
Well, like a lot of people had an issue with the digital look of Miami Vice. I don't. I think it looks great. I like how it works in this movie. It does not work at all in Public Enemies. I think it's the exact opposite effect in that movie.
Well, we'll talk about that next time. Chris, thank you for coming in the air tonight to join us. And
I appreciate it.
Let's go get some mojitos.
I'm a fiend.
That is why